WSX Lynn Haven WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
And that's out of the ballpark.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Lights, camera, action.
It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Do you know who I am?
Live and local inside the J. Michaels studio.
People know me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Friday's version of the Hot Tub. Coach James Hale Show. Brian Haddad sitting in once again for Coach Hale, who could not be bothered to return to work. I mean, he's got to get...
up in his loge up there eating popcorn.
He needed a vacation from his vacation, so...
I can feel him there.
But as always, it is Friday Fun Day here on the Coach James Hale Show. I'm joined by Coach Jim Barrett. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Jason Kovaleski.
Hey, how's it going?
That man knows how to make an entrance, man. You are right on time.
Yeah.
It was perfect. I love it.
Getting busy, man.
Big Bad John, what's going on back there?
All kinds of things. We got voted in the finalist for Best of Bay.
Hey, there we go.
Got a long weekend coming up. We won't have a show on Memorial Day, of course.
That's correct. And Coach will be back on Tuesday.
We're going to talk to Jeff Spiegel a little bit later on. And
yes, we will.
We'll call in.
Wait a minute. Now, Wildcat, is there a subcategory in the best wildlife show? Best reporting on alligators?
The best reality unreal.
The best 2-hour Alabama show.
That's right.
Not today. I got the Buckeyes in the room. So, today's going to be an interesting show. We're going to cover some local stuff. There is still some local sports news going on. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about all the goings-on at the SEC tournament. It's been an interesting one so far. We're going to have our normal FSU, Alabama, and Auburn updates. As John put it, we're going to talk to Jeff Spiegel of Birmingham, 3340 at 8. And we are going to get into the talk about this NCAA settlement, which is going to be interesting, and I'm sure is going to take lots of twists and turns because, quite frankly, there's a lot going on with it and a lot that still needs to be answered. But let's start with some local news that's out there. Wanted to get this in first. North Bay Haven wrestler Brianna Peralta has signed with Brewerton Parker College.
Nice.
So another local athlete signing on to compete at the collegiate level. So they had their signing ceremony, and congratulations to her. We do have 2 local softball teams still competing. They are actually playing today in the 1A state semifinals. We have Holmes County, and they will be playing 21-2 Trenton.
Nice.
So a rough go there, but that'll be at 11:30 our time. That's going to be down in Claremont. Now, Holmes County is an interesting story. Their record's 16-13 on the year. However, they started the year 2-7.
Wow.
And have been on a run. Wow. I think they've won their last 12 games in a row now. So you get hot at the right time,
Good
look
coaching.
out. Yeah, I think so too. And then Liberty County, the defending 1A state champions, they are 20-6, and they will play Branford today. Branford 23-6 on the year, and that will follow the first game. They expect somewhere around 12:45. So I always find it interesting. Hour and 15-minute difference in those.
Yeah.
It's not like SEC baseball where 3 hours later. But anyway, congratulations for making it this far, and good luck. I'd love to see a Liberty Holmes final.
For sure,
That'd be really fun. But, and of course, we talked yesterday, South Walton Seahawks coming up just short. We had another high school state runner-up, but certainly spring sports were outstanding here in the Panhandle. I mean, it was a great year all the way across in the Panhandle.
They're a really good team. I mean, just watching them play Arnold and their lineup, their pitching, I mean, they had it all. So, I mean, you run into Cardinal Gibbons. I mean, what do you do?
Exactly.
I mean, stacked baseball team. But they played a great game. It was 4-1. It's not like they got blown out. I mean, that sophomore they have is a stud. He's a big kid for a sophomore too. I mean, I think he's committed to Auburn. So there's a lot of talent on that team. It looks like it's going to be Arnold, South Walton again, and most people think they're the favorites to win state next year. So they got a lot of returning talent coming back. You know, Cooper and the other pitcher Blair. Those kids are top end talent. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out of this region next year. So it's going to be tough.
Well, then the other local news, I mean, more baseball news.
Yeah.
Doug Lee coming back. He's getting the head job again. He was the interim coach for the last, I believe, 9 games of the season. We talked to Coach Lee yesterday morning, and, it was something.
Did he say, or did you ask, is he still going to be athletic director?
He is.
Okay.
He is still going to be the AD. So, I mean, we've obviously
thought that was going to work.
We've obviously seen it work at Bozeman with Coach Patton. Now, Bozeman, 1A school versus Mosley is probably the biggest school in the area. Arnold and Mosley very similar, but Coach Lee, Doug, has been in the AD post for several years now. So I mean, it's not like it's a total brand new thing for him. But as he said, and this I found interesting, his heart is baseball, and he's a Mosley guy. He wants to help Mosley, but he said if he reaches the point where he does not feel like he could do both, that the athletic director job is the job that must be done, and that he may find somebody to take over. Now, I would imagine that wouldn't be like, until after the season or something like that, if that were the case. But I did find that interesting that he's like, the priority has to be all of the athletic programs. And, we have a plan. We think we can do both successfully. Right. But,
makes sense, though.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you took on that responsibility first, so you have that obligation to the other sports teams, too. So, and he loves Mosley, so we know he's going to do right by them. But that's a home run hire for them, no matter how you spin it. I mean, if you're going out and just searching candidates and you say, hey, we got Doug Lee as our number 1 candidate and take the Mosley situation out of the way, that's a great hire and just makes Bay County baseball that much better. I
mean, just think about what's been going on with Bay County baseball. I mean, you've got a state champion coach at Bay.
Right.
You've got a state champion coach at Mosley.
Yep.
You've got a multi-time state runner-up coach at Bozeman.
State champ.
Yeah. Well, the true state champion. I agree with that.
The true 1A state
That's
champ.
right. Arnold, Coach Jones, has had them, ranked top 5, top 10 in the state pretty much all year, and they're going to be, like you said, might be favorites next year. And then you've got programs on the rise at both Rutherford and North Bay Haven. Then you just go a little bit west, and you got South Walton just played for a state championship. I mean, it's tough sledding in the baseball coaching ranks.
Swinging around there in the Panhandle somewhere.
I'm telling you, you got to be on your P's and Q's if you want to coach baseball in this area, don't you?
Yeah, and I think it's the youth baseball programs. I mean, I grew up in that program in Lynn Haven that put a lot of people into major colleges and even major leagues. So there's a lot of talent around here, a lot of great coaching that develops in baseball players, and I think we've seen that over the last 20, 30 years. We've had great baseball teams for many years, going back to Coach Webb when I was at Bay High, Coach Frank at Mosley. So there's a long history of great baseball, and they're just continuing that. And I think this has been the height of baseball since I've been alive in Bay County.
What I love so much about it, and I've just lived in other areas, I've kind of seen it a little bit different in different places, is that so many of the best coaches are actually attached to the high schools.
Right.
Because in some other areas, you'll have these great coaches involved with, the individual work, like they have these D1 baseball academy, things like this, or you'll have the travel teams where that is, and the kids kind of show up and represent their high school team. It's not that way down here.
No.
I mean, they're playing travel ball, they're doing stuff, but there's a lot that's organized around the schools, and I know even Coach Lee talked about it, and I know Patton's talked about it before, is a lot of these guys need to get into the travel ball circuit because in order to be seen by these scouts or these colleges, they need to be in these tournaments.
Right.
But it's still very attached to a plan set by the high school coaches, which is not the case in a lot of areas.
You see a lot of talent in these travel teams.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I mean, you got the kid from South Walton, you got Cooper, you got all these kids playing together on the same team. I mean, imagine going up against that pitching staff. You're 16 years old, and you see that coming down the pipe at 95, 96. But, yeah, I mean, the travel ball is way, way more extensive than what we used to do back in the day. We used to play all-star.
Ball.
Right, yeah, basically. Yeah. But it's great for the kids. I mean, I think it's developing them even more. I mean, you have that much, talent on the same field. You're playing against the best players in the state. So it's just a great program. And I think these kids are getting even better because of it.
Well, I want to pivot over to this, Jim, because now we're almost through with the spring sports. We're in graduation week. Fortunately,
Graduation season.
Doesn't look like we've had any. Oh, yeah, exactly. Graduation month or 6 weeks or whatever it is. We don't seem to have had any pranks go horribly awry. Thank God yet.
We got some time.
Yeah, exactly. But we talked about that.
It's a challenge to you guys.
We talked about that on Wednesday. I'm afraid Glenn Manley gave some classes maybe some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, he was giving out really super stunts.
Taylor County,
but anyway, I did want to pivot to this. So, and we talked Wednesday about the fact that, there are a lot of people who think that, teaching's a great job. You only work 9 months a year, or administrators or coaches. Like, no, it's not how it works.
Try it out.
It's like Jeremy Pridgeon said, you think I preach 1 hour a week and that's it.
Nah.
So, but I do want to ask you, so obviously focus going to start on next year in the fall. And as a football coach, and I know there might be a couple of new regulations or changes and things like that since you were coaching actively. But Jim, I'm curious as to what does it look like right now for a football coach and the students, and what does a summer look like? Because it doesn't just start when the kids get back to school, obviously.
No, definitely not. I'll use James Hale and I as an example because we coached together for a long time at Cape Coral and at Arnold. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, James would give them off till about the 4th of July, give or take, So there'd be like 2-3 weeks off, school ends a lot earlier now than it used to.
That's right.
So let's just say you got a month off, and that's pretty much your time as a coach to kind of take your vacation, go do what you want to do, because once the 4th of July, that time comes, you're pretty much going every day, one way or the other. Either the kids lifting or practicing or 7-on-7. James wasn't a 7-on-7 because we didn't really have it then, but now that's a big deal.
Right.
You got to have 7-on-7, So that's pretty much what you get, like a 3-4 weeks off, and then you're going pretty much every day.
So would you have meetings kind of with the parents toward the end of the year and just say, look, here's what the schedule looks like. Make sure, we want you guys to have vacations, things as a family, but it needs to happen in this time frame. Right. Because if we're going to kind of accomplish our goals and do what we want to do, once we come back, we got to be...
Yeah, and it's not ironclad. Obviously, things are going to happen, or people are still going to travel after that,
That's
4th of July time period, but... If at all possible, that's what we'd like for you to happen, because this is what we got going. And the better you get as a team, the more important it becomes, because it's just the nature of the game.
So incoming freshmen, and pardon me, it's been 30 years since I was in high school, so I don't know exactly how all of this works, but do they have to have declared where they're going by a certain point? And do you know every incoming freshman you're going to have?
I got to be honest. I could lie to you and give you an answer.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know on that, because that wasn't like that when when I coached high school. It wasn't like that. You just got who you had,
Right. But you had them in summer workouts, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They would come to summer workouts, but is there a drop dead line where, hey, you got to declare where you're going to? What? That's a question that I don't. Tommy Sanamont might know. Glenn might know, but I don't know. I truly don't know the answer.
Did you ever have a case where you got to school starting and somebody decided to come out for football, or was it pretty much too late by then?
We didn't have that, but I tell you what, the one that was the best surprise to me was 2010. I think 2010.
Okay.
And we had a pretty good team coming back. Eddie Williams was going to be on the team.
Sure.
But we were missing a linebacker, and James and I, we went up to the office, and there's a kid standing in our office from Kansas, like Manhattan, Kansas. His name is Caleb Clayton Mobley.
Okay.
He's like 6'2", 210.
Perfect.
We looked at each other like, where'd this kid go? We don't know him from that. Like, where'd
There's
this
your
kid
linebacker.
And what happened was, that was in the transition when, Arnold was still like the newest thing on the block, and people wanted to go there, and we were pretty successful in football. And he went to Mosley first and didn't really like it as much. And they were kind of shopping him around. Long story short, he was a stud player. Oh, my God, was he good. And then he went to Georgia Military Academy, and he ended up playing. He started at Charlotte, when they started football.
Wow, yeah.
and he's graduated from high school or college, but he was like 6'2", about 210 in high school. He ended up being like 6'3", 230. You know, like great kid, never had a problem, won with him. It's like, where did this kid come from? Holy
Should have
smoke.
bought a lottery ticket that day. Wow.
From Kansas. You know, people say, you're recruiting people, so help me out. So our recruiting budget at Arnold High School is so big that we're going to go to Kansas to get a player we've never even seen
It just
before.
means more
It
there.
just means more.
Just means more.
That's where it originated from.
That's why Hale says it so much.
That
He
was-
coined
that
the
was
phrase.
The SEC stole it from him.
Well, that's interesting. So again, it's there's a lot that goes on in the summer that leads to where we go in the fall, and hopefully we're going to have just another wonderful school year of fantastic athletics and everything else. But again, congrats to all of the achievements this year in athletics, and congratulations also to all the graduates with everything going on this week. Just make sure that, we stay out of trouble. Let's talk about some of our sponsors here on the Coach James Hale Show. J. Michael's Restaurant. It is Chris Fish Day out there. Boy, that's good stuff. That grilled fish over rice and peppers and spices. And oh, goodness, I think I'm going. Dr. Chad Mitchell. If you've got any kind of injury, you need to go see the guy who's been helping the athletes of this county. Can you believe it? For now going on 25 years in this area. He is the absolute best. So if you have any kind of injury, don't wallow around in pain. Make everyone around you miserable. Go see Dr. Chad Mitchell and get yourself fixed up. And speaking about getting yourself fixed up, Big Bag John, we get in the doghouse with the old lady. We get in trouble. How are we going to get our way out of it?
It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, you throw her in the car. You tell her you're going somewhere else. But you head on over
Strike
to
one.
Highway 77.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw her.
Strike
Next.
one. Now you got to buy more.
Look, you're already in the doghouse.
Right, there you go. I like your style.
Take her to David Adamson Fine
That's
Jewelry and
right.
Design and have her draw something up. And then when she sees the finished product, she's going to say, this is one of a kind. It's a great idea. It's inexpensive for you to do. Or you can take your old jewelry, have it appraised for, your insurance company insurance value, or you can have it appraised, or you can have it repaired right there on the spot. You can have it cleaned. You can have it fixed. Everything is right there. They do it all in-house. It's a fantastic place, and you don't got to put up with all the traffic from the beach or downtown area. David Adamson Fine Jewelry, Highway 77 in Lynn Haven.
Sounds good to me. When we come back, let's get into yesterday's results from the SEC baseball tournament. They have ice cream again since Coach Hale is gone, but
So
we're
Joe
going to talk.
Biden's there?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the scores and everything going on with that. You're listening to the Coach James Hale Show on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Braves versus the Pirates. First pitch tonight at 5:40. And listen closely for a special keyword. It's your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets to see the Braves play the Nationals Memorial Day. When you hear the keyword, text 850-215-6290 for your chance to experience the Braves at Truist Park.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For this afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 83 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a light breeze and warm near 76. Partly sunny and 84 tomorrow. 84 and mostly sunshine with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and a temperature the same at 84. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0000. 0453.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Do you know who I am?
If he was the last person on Earth,
I'm kind of a big deal.
mankind would still have a chance.
We may have to repopulate the Earth.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show.
I'm very important.
Live from the J. Michael Studio on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
I feel like I should be standing up.
I know.
Love that song. Sing it, Lee.
You go, Jason.
Coach James Hale Show on a fun Friday. Memorial Day weekend kicking off. There might be a few people in town this weekend. We'll have to see. But again, no show on Monday. Coach will be back on Tuesday. Well, he's been up in Hoover at the SEC baseball tournament. Brought Alabama a lot of luck. They were there for about 2 hours and left.
Who'd they lose to?
Everybody.
South Carolina. One and done, as they say. But
Long way to go for nothing, Chief.
But I tell you what, it's been a really interesting tournament. I mean, obviously, if you're in Hoover, Alabama, you don't want to see Auburn not make the tournament and Alabama go out in the first round. But I tell you something, for a tournament that it can be argued how much it truly means in the grand scheme of things, especially when it appears 11 SEC schools are going to be making the NCAA field. Boy, a lot of people love traveling, and it's because it's such a fun event.
Right. Yeah.
And they've been real fortunate with weather. They haven't had any issues with that. Knock on wood, they won't. So let's talk about where we are. So on Wednesday, we had all of the top 4 seeds getting their first action, and all 4 of them lost, which was amazing. So we start the day with 2 elimination games. We have tournament seed number 3, Kentucky, versus number 2 seed, Arkansas. And John, your boys advanced.
Finally.
They took down Mike's Arkansas Razorbacks 9-6. So Arkansas is now eliminated, and Kentucky survives and advances on forward. In the second game of the day, another elimination game, number 1 Tennessee, presumed number 1 overall national seed. They rallied back to beat Texas A&M and eliminate the Aggies. So 7-4, Tennessee moves on and stays alive in the tournament. Then, as we get to later in the afternoon, we get our winners bracket games. LSU might be the hottest team in the United States right now, coming off of a sweep of Ole Miss. Then they go out and they beat Georgia in the first round, and I don't even remember who they beat. I think it was Kentucky. Yeah, that's right, blank Kentucky. I'm going to remind you of that, John.
Can I throw this in there for a second?
Let's go.
You seen, remember Paul Skeens?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Have you
God.
seen him at the Pirates?
Yep.
I saw him the other day. He pitched 6 innings. Now, I don't think they hit the ball in the infield. It's like, holy. I'm saying to myself, I never played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
How can you hit? He throws 101 miles an hour. It breaks like this much. How can you hit that? How can you ever? He's at LSU. That's why I'm bringing it up.
What's funniest
He's
about
unbelievable.
Skeens, he started college. I think he went to the Air Force Academy. He was a catcher.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
He was a catcher.
He was a catcher.
Big arm.
Transitioned to a
he
pitcher.
missed it there.
Given incredible fundamentals at LSU. I can't remember coach's name. He's actually the head coach at Georgia now.
Okay.
But he was his pitching coach at LSU. That's the thing about Skeens. It's not that he throws 101, 102. There are guys who do that. He
Right.
does it without falling off the mound to do it.
Right.
Phenomenal technique and form. And it was another thing we talked a little bit about yesterday, kind of in the new paradigm of college baseball versus minor league. The resources available and the high pressure situations that exist with certainly SEC baseball and into the College World Series. These guys are ready faster to to get into the majors
definitely
coming out of
ready. Holy
college
smokes.
Oh, yeah.
than they are going through the farm system.
Plus nutrition, training, everything has been accelerated with the internet. And it's just not the last 3-4 years, it's the last 20 years.
Yep.
I mean, even look back to the NBA with Michael Jordan. Everybody, Michael Jordan was the best athlete on the floor almost every night. Now
That's right.
you got 30 guys that look just like him playing every single night. So just the training regimens, the nutrition, we know so much more now, how to feed the body, how to feed the muscles. So it is a different time, but it's exciting. It's really cool to see some of these players. I mean, they're pushing the limits. I mean, he's throwing 120 or 102 mile per hour cutters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
That's it.
I remember Aroldis Chapman, because I was a big Reds fan.
Yep.
He was one of the first guys that was throwing in the 103s, 104s, but it was a dart. It was straight. There was no cutting action. There was no movement on it. So I couldn't imagine getting up to the plate and trying to hit that.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. No, he's
And
unbelievable.
Major League players are saying the same thing, it seems like. So they're not hitting them very well either. So once he gets a couple years under his belt, he's going to be really, really hard to hit.
So we've seen so often in college baseball, most recently Ole Miss 2 years ago, it was a lot of consternation over whether Ole Miss should have even made the NCAA field.
Right.
And there were a lot of people who thought they should not have gotten in. All they did was win the national championship.
Right.
I think Virginia had done it a few years before that. So what you had, LSU goes, they beat Florida last year. They win the national championship. Paul Skeens goes number 1 overall. Dylan Cruz goes number 2 overall. So you lose a lot, right?
Right.
They struggled through this year. They're probably the hottest team in the United States right now, and they're the team I don't want to see in the NCAA tournament, because you get hot and on a run, we've seen what can happen.
Right.
So, yeah, this LSU team is for real.
I know the women have regionals and super regionals, then the World Series. Does the men have that?
Same
Do they have
thing.
that super regional bracket in there? Or?
They do. So what will happen, you'll have a 4-team regional. There'll be 16 of those, and then the winners will pair off, depending on who goes through, into a super regional, a best-of-3 series, and then you'll have 8 teams going to make it to Omaha.
So you think Florida gets in or not? That's going to be the biggest discussion of the
Let's assume,
SEC at
let's
least.
assume we don't have complete chaos
Right.
through other conference tournaments. Right now, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Their RPI is strong enough. Their strength of schedule is number 1 in the country.
Right. I think the RBI is in the 30s.
Yeah, so what it is, well, I think
20s
they're actually
maybe,
28.
Right about
29.
500. I'm talking about the Gators now.
They're like 26 and 23 or 24. or
Well,
something.
I think they ended up 1 game over 500
Okay.
because they lost their first SEC tournament game, but they needed to win the series at Georgia and did so.
Right.
But they
just to get to the SEC.
yeah,
tournament.
there's a thing that's called 1330,
Right.
which was 13 conference wins, 30 RPI. No one's ever missed
Right.
at that. Now, the SEC's never put 11 in either.
Right.
So, but I do think so. Right now, again, we could have chaos, but based on what I'm seeing right now, I do think they will get in. So LSU played South Carolina, who looked dead coming into the SEC tournament. I thought they were going to be the one of the 11 that didn't go on. And they've been hot. They've won a couple of games. And now LSU and South Carolina probably played the best game of the tournament outside of Mississippi State Ole Miss. It was more exciting. But you had a back and forth game. I think LSU scored 2 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. Every inning, a different team went up.
Right.
It was really fun. You end up, LSU moves on 11-10. South Carolina is going to drop down in the loser's bracket where they will now play Kentucky today, and that'll be the early game, but at 4 p.m. And then the nightcap, again, Mississippi State draws the last game of the day for the 3rd day in a row. And unfortunately, this is the first of those they didn't prevail. Low-scoring affair. Vandy gets by Mississippi State 4-1 in a rematch of the 2021 National Championship Series. So Vandy advances, and Mississippi State drops down into the loser's bracket. And guess who they get?
Your favorite team.
Tennessee. Number 1 team in the country.
Is that why you're wearing orange today?
You're right. Yeah. Tennessee
I'm
Orange.
trying
there,
some
brother.
reverse psychology today is what I'm doing. So our games today, just 2, Kentucky, South Carolina at 4, Tennessee and Mississippi State will play after. Our winning teams, LSU and Vanderbilt, earned a day off. They will await the winners of those 2 games on Saturday, and then your championship game will be on Sunday. And our selection show will actually be on Monday. But it is projected at this point that all 11, outside of Ole Miss, Auburn, and Missouri, all 11 remaining SEC teams are projected currently to get into the field. And we may talk about where those projections are. They're kind of going back and forth, and as new results come in, it does change. But the one thing that seems fairly constant, Right now, they have Florida going to Tallahassee.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Now, Florida has not had what I'd even call any kind of luck against Florida State this year. It's been 3 decisive
beatings,
drubbings. But you don't want to see Florida if you're Florida State.
No.
You don't want to see Southern Miss, who they have projected as the 2 seed.
Wow.
And the 4 seed is Stetson, who owns everybody in the state of Florida somehow. So that, right now, that regional looks brutal.
The Hatters, baby.
It looks like the NCAA is continuing their love of Florida State this year. So
you said it.
So we will have to see how that goes.
Let's find out what Kirk Herbstreit thinks.
Oh, my God. No, he wouldn't have them in the field.
No,
so
he'd have a couple of helmets behind him that were not Florida State.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
Here's the thing. We're
going to find out when you find out. Okay.
We need to hope an FSU pitcher doesn't get injured, because then the ESPN will have a pretext,
That'd be a great series, though. Having Florida State to battle to go to regional. I mean, that would be an intense.
Because Florida has not played well this year, but they are still loaded with talent.
They have a lot of talent. They just haven't put it together this year.
Right.
For some reason, their pitching just hasn't been that good this year. So, but that's not a team you want to face.
No.
A hurt Florida team just kind of limping into the tournament and give them a second chance.
Yeah.
Don't want that, especially as Florida State. And I know Florida State fans want it because, the rivalry, they want to beat them, but I would pick a couple of the teams I'd like to face.
I think so, too.
Maybe face them in the Omaha.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some more of our great sponsors here on the show. Rudy's Barbecue. Jason, I know you're a fan.
Was there yesterday. I was watching some of the SEC baseball over there. That's why I love going there. I can sit down, I can relax, I can put one of the games on. So they got a bunch of TVs, but I got that brisket. I love the brisket. I got their cream corn's phenomenal, and I got a little Rudy beans and some jalapeno sausage for the house for when I get back and watch the SEC games at night. So, and I watched a little of the hocky game too when I was over there. But what an ending of that game last night! If you stayed up,
that the Edmonton game,
yeah,
no doubt. So Rudy's Barbecue, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like if you're stuck on Highway 98 right now, just yank into Rudy's there, get you some breakfast tacos. You will absolutely love them. Look, Dr. John Ward, tell you what, we got a weekend coming up. A lot of people going to be out in the sun enjoying everything to experience down here, and we think that's wonderful. But keep in mind, folks, 1 in 5 will develop skin cancer in their lifetime. Don't become a statistic. Make sure you're wearing your sunscreen, you're taking care, but also get regular screenings.
Right.
Something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. Make sure that you reach out to Dr. Ward and dermatology specialists. They have got 8 convenient area locations. If you can hear us right now, there is an office near you.
Been a good man and an honest doctor. I mean, he's helped me, my mother. So if you want honest answers and not the typical BS you get from normal doctors that are just trying to sell you a prescription, go see John Ward.
That's right. I go there as well.
He's phenomenal. Can't say enough about the guy.
And Turf Pro Pest Control, you want that yard looking absolutely gorgeous. You want to be the talk of the neighborhood for the right reasons.
Right.
You need to see Pat and the crew at Turf Pro Pest Control. They have a wonderful staff that will come out and get rid of all the unwanted critters and insects and everything like that can wreak havoc on a Florida lawn. You need to see Turf Pro Pest Control. When we get back, I think we're headed to the courtroom. We got to talk about what's going on here with the NCAA. A lot of changes coming to the NCAA
sporting
landscape, and amateurism may be a thing of the past.
Dead.
That's next. Coach James Hale Show, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dead on arrival.
Come on vacation.
Summer vacation. Hey, how's your vacation going?
Leave on probation.
Sheriff's deputies in Panama City Beach arresting 161 people during an out-of-control spring break weekend.
Welcome to the Emerald Coast. Have a great time at the beautiful beaches, but not like end up in the back of a police cruiser great. A friendly reminder from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore portable building dealer, Panama City.
It's time to pick your path and go big and go bold from Bill Bird Kia. You can drive away in a brand new 2024 Telluride from Bill Bird Kia. The 2024 Telluride protects what matters, and it's built for the long haul. Its technology will connect with confidence, and its upscale, all-around rugged look will take you on to the next adventure. The road is yours. Bill Bird Kia, the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or BillBirdKia.com.
Your safety and proper care of your boat in an emergency is crucial. When it comes to on-water assistance, response time is everything. And since 1996, in the Bay or on the Gulf, it's Seato. Seato's Coast Guard licensed captains are on the scene in an average of 1 hour or less. Seato gets members home or back to boating faster. Become a member today at Seato.com or call 850-234-2323.
He doesn't try on clothes at the department stores. He just rips stuff off the hanger and lives with the consequences for years.
It's classy, it's intriguing.
He's sexy, sassy, and full of spunk.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels Studio. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hey, I'm an American soldier, an American.
Very, very patriotic Friday here on the Coach James Hale Show. I love it.
Not forget why we're here.
That's exactly right. And, obviously, Memorial Day weekend, spare some time to think about that. All the people who've come before and given their lives for the freedoms that we have. And it's not Veterans Day, obviously, but also remember those who have served and, are still around and think about them because, if not for them, where would we be?
Where would the world be? I mean,
other loved ones that's made our lives.
I'll be
That's
German.
Right. Exactly.
I'll be speaking German.
Yeah. So absolutely. So keep that in mind. And look, enjoy getting out on the water and watching. Like I said, I'm going to watch guys turn left for about 11 hours on Sunday and things. But
I heard you say that yesterday.
I love it, man.
Well, what's wrong with you?
How long do we have in this show?
How can you do that?
Look.
If you've been in person, though, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah,
I mean, the power of the cars, just the sound, it's just
feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I run the risk of getting lynched when I leave the studio here for what I'm about to say on this, but the one of the three I have a harder time with is the Coke 600, the NASCAR one.
Oh, yeah.
Partially because it's later in the day,
right.
but, that's a long race.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now, Monaco, there's just something about it. It's such a... just the history on that track. It's been run on essentially the same course since 1929.
Yeah.
And just the glamour of Monaco. I've always wanted to go to the casino at Monte Carlo. Shocking for me that I wanted to go to a casino.
Go figure.
But it's just, it's beautiful. So, and that one they turn right and left.
Right.
So that one I want to see. Indy 500, I'm just not sure there's anything like it.
No.
I love Daytona. I love Talladega. Indy just hits different.
And when you grow up in the Midwest, everybody talks about the Indy 500, and if you've ever been there, it's an incredible setup, an incredible stadium, and the speed that they carry through the corners is just like you have to be a strong-minded, willed person to be able to get in a car, do 220 into a corner like that. Because if there's any wobble, it's a 50-50 chance you might be with us at the end of the day.
You don't want to hear oops?
No.
The knife edge that they are on, going 228, 230, going into the corner, and if your tire hits like old tire marbles, you're into the wall.
Even on an
open wheel car,
an asphalt, quarter-mile track in your local neighborhood. We used to run B-class modifieds, A-class modifieds, street class. And we used to run those cars. And, you're only going, 35, 40 miles an hour, but in a steep bank oval quarter-mile track, it takes some concentration. And like I said, just one little oops, and it's all over for you, and you can get hurt.
It would be daunting enough on the track by yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Out there with 32 others.
Right now, with all that being said, Is it true that the University of Georgia is going to be sponsoring the college?
Wow.
Thank
Well
you, Kirby.
done,
Thank
sir.
you, Kirby.
Are they sponsored? Because it just means more.
Well, it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the drivers. They can't keep, although
It does sound like they're training for it, though.
there was a Florida, I do have to say this, my Georgia fans out there, I've got to get the details of, there was a Florida defensive player, I think he's a down the line guy, who just was arrested. He was leading police on a chase. He reached speeds of over 150 miles an hour. Now, I want to know what vehicle he's got.
It must have been a Hellcat.
Wasn't a Yugo.
Yeah. Or a truck.
No Nissan Maxima leading him on, but and was weaving in and out of traffic, at over 100 miles an hour. So serious situation, but obviously we've heard a lot about it at Georgia. So just so you know, it's not just related to Georgia. It's like football. They're just a little better.
They want to have it at 3 o'clock. They want to have it at 3 o'clock in the morning because that's really when they do their best work.
All right.
I'm sorry. I had to get that in there.
I love the racing Sunday. To me, it's like Thursday of the Masters. It's one of my holy sports days. The holiest of all sports days, I think we've talked about this on the show before, used to be New Year's Day bowl games.
Right.
When you just had wall to wall.
As a kid.
And all of them mattered.
That was like Christmas morning.
Other than maybe the Outback Bowl. But all of them mattered, know. Hey, that's where Mississippi State would
And
go.
you end up with the Rose Bowl and then the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was phenomenal. I mean, it was just, like I said, it was one of those days where you could simply park in front of the television and just enjoy it. And it might be back then, it wasn't like you had access. I mean, look, we got to see a lot of football games. It's not the 60s where you only got one game a week. Right. But it might be the first time I'd see UCLA play, or it might be the first time that I'd see if Washington made it, or, maybe it was only the second time I'd see Nebraska play or something like that, or Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl or whatever. But it was always a fun day. I really miss that we're there. I know why we're not, and I understand. It's fine. Back then we also had a lot of arguments over who should be a national champion more than we do now.
Right.
But I don't know. There was something special about that, and it's what it was, but we ain't going back.
The first day of March Madness is one of my bucket lists that I have to park in front of the TV because I like to place a couple wagers every now and then, and March Madness is the optimal time because there's games on at 11, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11s. It's like...
It's another one of those things, though, where I really hate... I don't know what was wrong with 64.
Nothing. It was the perfect number. Well, I say the perfect number. I think even less. I think they devalue their own regular season. I think this is the fear that football fans have with what they're doing with the college football playoff. We started at 4. I thought 8 was a very good number. We want to get all the conference championships in there and a couple at-larges, and now we're, at 12 already? 12. They're already talking about
Soon
16. 14, next year. They're going to inevitably be at 16. So I just don't want to water down the regular season. The Ohio State-Michigan game, that's a huge game. I mean, there's all the marbles. Look at last year. Winner won the Big Ten. Winner went on to win a national title. I mean, that's high-stake poker right there. Same way with SEC champion. But now the 12 teams come in. If you got Georgia, Alabama in a similar situation last year, does Georgia even play their starters last year against Alabama, knowing they're going to be in the playoffs?
It's such a good point.
Yeah, because you got to think about that as a coach.
Let's just look at the SEC. Because that's what we do here.
Right.
I'm filling Hale's seat. It just comes with territory. But so we've had 3 major sports. We've had baseball, we've had basketball, we've had football. Right now we're in the middle of the SEC baseball tournament. All this week we've had conversations on, do you want to win?
Right.
You're wasting your arms.
Exactly.
Back when we were at basketball, we started talking about that too. Do you want that many games on your legs? Auburn made this big run.
Right.
Great momentum, lost in the first round.
Yep.
What do you do? Here's the one we couldn't ever say that about last year, football.
Right.
Georgia goes in number 1. No number 1 team has ever dropped out of the playoff rankings until this year.
Right.
That is what I love about college football.
That's what
Every game matters. Like, you might be able to bobble a little if you're good enough, but you can't do it late.
No.
And those conference championship games mattered. So, yeah, I do think we're entering that, and I think we very well may get a situation. We talked about it. We expect at least 3 SEC and probably at least 3 Big Ten teams to make playoff this year, right?
We're talking about the best teams.
Correct. And I think we'll get 3. The bigger conversation will be there might be a 4th worthy, and will they get in or not? We'll see. But we do have that scenario where would you rather be number 3 and not have to play an SEC championship game, not even have to make the decision of do we rest players or not. Let's say it's Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, okay? And Georgia and Texas are going to have to play, and that's a heavyweight battle. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to get beat up just to win a conference trophy. I know it does still matter, but let's face it, the goal is the national championship. Ole Miss got a week of rest.
Oh, yeah.
I
think that's a huge advantage. I mean, especially that late in the season when we know injuries happen and you're wearing out. Everybody's hurt at that time of the year. Nobody's just, I feel great.
Yeah.
But those type of decisions are things people are going to have to make. Like I was saying, with the way Georgia was kind of banged up, the tight end Bowers was banged up a little bit, McConkey was banged up a little bit. Do you sit those guys now next year knowing we just got to be in the top 12. We don't have to be number 3. Now, I do think there's some incentive to be in that top 4 because you're going to get a bye. That's a huge advantage to be able to
be
sit
at
there.
home for sure.
That's right. At home, yeah. So I think there's some advantages, but it's going to be interesting to see how some of these coaches manage their rosters late in the season, especially when their big-time games like Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn are those late games. So
that's the other worry. I don't know that it would ever impact an Alabama-Auburn game.
Or
Ohio State, Michigan. I really don't.
Right.
But it's at least something you have to give a half a second of thought about now that you never would have
They
before.
wouldn't put any less effort in there. But I do think if there's a guy that's borderline injured.
Well, that's the thing. Your management would be different.
Right. I have a slightly sprained ankle. He probably would play if it was, last year where the winner gets in. But we're getting in anyway. Let's sit Cade Stover. Let's sit, this guy over here that maybe has a sprained ankle. Get him another extra week of rest. We may be the 10th seed, but we're going to be in and we're going to have a shot at it. So those are the type of conversations we're going to see moving forward. And I'm not sure I really like that.
Yeah. Well, folks, that was our discussion over the most monumental NCAA court case of all time. No, we're going to get to that later on.
Yeah.
Then we'll go off the rails a little bit.
I don't know where that went.
Yeah, professional radio, baby.
What I don't understand, why does the NCAA still exist? And we talked about this in the group chat. I mean, I don't understand that at all. Like, to me, if you're the Power 5 conference, you have all this power. The NCAA is toothless. They've been known to just not have any ability to prosecute anybody cheating. I mean, Tennessee just laughed in their face and told them to get out of our face, and they can't do nothing about it.
I think that's why we're getting to the settlement, because they know they can't win in court and the judgments could be worse.
Hire a commissioner. The Power 5 needs to hire a commissioner that both the major conferences, which is the Big Ten and SEC, can agree on and go from there.
Nick Saban, baby!
I don't think so. But we can discuss Barry Alvarez.
Barry Alvarez, I would have no problem with.
I don't think many people would.
All right, we are going to get into this today. It's a monumentous decision, but we had to talk about racing and everything else. So, no, that was actually a fun segment. So we're going to get to that later on in the thing, because there is a lot to talk about. It is certainly changing the landscape of college sports. The problem is none of us know where it's going yet. So
I don't think they do either.
No,
drive with the blinders on.
Why would the people making the decisions know where we're going?
Right.
But
that would be un-American.
But that's why it's so interesting over the next few years. Where is this going to go eventually? And we're in the midst of it, so it's like, man, these people are stupid. It's chaotic. But there's got to be a lot of things in the court system that have to play out, and I think we're seeing that now.
All right, let's head to a break. I'm going to talk about some more of our sponsors after we come back. You are listening to the Coach James Hale Show on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Suffer from political talk radio fatigue?
We know that under the 49% rate, the U.S.
And tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For this afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 83 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a light breeze and warm near 76. Partly sunny and 84 tomorrow. 84 and mostly sunshine with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and a temperature the same at 84. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
Paid for by Steel Man Pills. 800-605-1682. 800-605-1682. 800-605-1682. That's 800-605-1682.
It's the Coach James Hale Show.
He's the sexiest man on the planet.
Live and local from the J. Michaels Studio on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. Woo! FSU update brought to you by Newbies. All three Newbies properties about to be hopping this weekend. Well, you better believe that. The mothership, they're going to have some great bands. They're going to have some great libations. It's going to be a good time. And we got music playing. Yeah. All right, very good. But yeah, this is one of the great bands playing. Yeah, they're at Newbies. But make sure you get out there, have a great time. Newbies 2 on the Curve, where you can go watch the baseball and the softball, everything else going on this weekend. And then, of course, the Booze and Brew there, absolutely wonderful. So thanks to John and Charlotte for sponsoring the FSU update and for everything that they do here in our community. Jim, what you got for us on FSU today?
We'll talk about FSU softball.
Okay.
It's kind of, as a coach and as a player, as a coach especially, you always want to get rewarded for your hard efforts. And Florida State wins their regional. They did a great job. They did. Okay? And what's their reward? They have to go travel to Norman, Oklahoma, and beat a team who's lost like 4 times in 3 years. They got to beat them twice.
Yeah.
In 2 days. All right, or possibly 3 days.
If you're a Florida State fan, is it time to start taking this personally? We just talked about what the projected baseball regional is. We all know what happened in football.
Right. It's really strange.
Are they going to make the beach volleyball team not play on sand? What's coming next?
So anyway, that wasn't the best possible outcome that they were looking for. But before I go into their game yesterday,
yeah.
But on a positive note, they've been runners-up to Oklahoma twice in the last 3 years, and the games were 3-1 and 5-1. So it's not like they got blown out.
That's right.
But that being said, let's talk about their game yesterday. They're the away team. They bat first inning, get the bases loaded, don't score. Okay, so that's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
Third batter up for Oklahoma. Third batter, she goes yard.
Yeah.
1-0. Second inning, they don't do anything. Second inning, Oklahoma scores again. So now 2-0. Top of the third. Florida State loads the bases again. They do get a hit, so now it's... And I even said a thing to my wife. I think I said to you guys, yeah, it's 2-2. I'm thinking this is going to be a game. Okay? No. Oklahoma scores 3 in the bottom of the third. And now it's 5-2.
That was the same girl hit the home run again. She was...
All right, now we're going to the top of the fourth. Top of the fourth. No outs. Florida State's got a guy or a girl on first and second. And I'm not a baseball coach, but to me, you don't sacrifice bunt when you're down 3 runs.
Right.
So let's say you move them over and you come up with a hit. You're still losing. It's 5-4. But I'm not going to criticize the strategy, but it was just kind of curious to me. So anyway, first and second, no outs. They decide they're going to sacrifice bunt. The girl pops it up, and you know how those in softball, they're like 5 feet from home plate.
They're crashing.
They just come running. So the third baseman from Oklahoma, who hit the 2 home runs, she comes on a dead run, catches the bunt on the fly, throws to first base, double play.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was the end of it.
And that was like you could just see all the air that's going out of the balloon. It was like, well, that's it. So they didn't score. End of 3, end of 4, end of 3.5. It's 5-2. What does Oklahoma do? They score 5 more.
Yeah.
Now it's 10-2.
Hit 3 home runs in that inning. I mean, they got some hitters on that team.
So it ends up being
crazy.
11. It ends up being 11-3. Now, before you got here, I was talking to our cohort here. Oklahoma's girls just look better, bigger, more athletic. They're so much more physically gifted than. And Florida State's got some good-looking girls too now. But God, they're all big and they hit the crap out of the ball. And it's not just one.
No,
it's like there are 3 or 4 of them. They just hit the crap out. I mean, when they hit the ball, it's like no doubt. Well, that's gone. You don't even have to look. That's gone. That's gone. And they don't beat themselves with silly stuff like that. First and second, you get a double play on a bunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big play of the game and turn it around. So now Florida State's task is to go back and play them again today and see if they can win. And then if they do that, then you got to play them again. You got to beat them twice. So
Good thing about Florida State, it's 0-0 this game. You're starting fresh. I mean, you can put that behind you. I will say this about Oklahoma. I watched about 3 or 4 of their batters in that 5-run, I think 5th inning or 6th inning. They look like Major League men playing. I mean,
they do.
The strokes, the batting approach, they weren't slap hitting anything. They were hitting bombs to deep center field. And you left anything over the plate, them girls were just cracking it. So what a great softball coach. She's got to have tremendous credit. I mean, because she's lost her best pitcher last year to, I believe, Nebraska. She ended up losing for the year, and there just hasn't missed a beat. I mean, just a great program. One of the best coaches probably in all of sports in college.
And they were talking about, who's got the most championships, and as good as they've done, UCLA still has the most. Yeah. They've got, I think, 12 or 13 national championships. If Oklahoma wins, they'll tie Arizona for 8. And then, and Georgia got beat by UCLA last night, too. Yeah. So it may come down to UCLA and Oklahoma.
It was a little awkward to me that 2 of the 8 supers started on Thursday.
Right, and the rest are tomorrow.
I would understand
or today, rather.
None or 4.
Yeah.
Right.
But 2 just seemed awkward to me. I don't really know why. I mean, I understand if it's a decision late based on, expected weather or something like that, but I don't.
But those girls can pitch every day, can't they? I mean, they can go back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. Actually, Doc Mitchell and I talked about that, how that's actually
safer.
In swimming, it was the same thing. Backstroke was easier because it's a normal motion.
Right.
Whereas the over the top is an abnormal motion for the shoulder.
But I'm like you, Jason. Their girls in Oklahoma look like men hitting the ball. They really do. I mean,
well, in this day and age, that can mean something else, but we just mean they're big. We just mean they're big and strong.
Right, exactly. They're just their approach at the plate and their stroke was.
I know.
But they must. I tell you, the other thing they must have at Oklahoma, they must have a heck of a strength program too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because them girls are all strong, and man, they just hit the crap out of the ball. I was like, wow.
But it's exciting to watch. I mean, if you've never watched a women's college
Oklahoma play softball.
The way they pitch, I mean, I don't know how they hit the ball anyway. I mean, they got these droppers, these little change ups that are going like 40 miles per hour. I would be tied up in knots trying to hit that. So,
I mean, those change ups that they throw, you could swing, miss, and swing again by the time that thing gets there.
That's what would drive me crazy.
Well, Jim and I were talking about that before the show came on, was that, what I remember, when I was in school 25, 30 years ago, and then since then, a lot of softball games where it seemed like there was a no-hitter every other game.
Right.
Every game was 1-0 or 2-1 or something like that. The pitchers aren't any worse.
No.
But the hitting has gotten so good in this game. And I think it's also helped the excitement of the game.
Oh, for sure.
And that you've got these phenomenal pitchers, and they're still impressive, but they miss by an inch, and boom, it's over the fence.
Right.
No, I've enjoyed watching the college softball. I mean, I've been watching it for about 4 or 5 years because I think 4 or 5 years ago there was a really, really good, I think Oklahoma was playing somebody, and I was watching them. I was like, wow, this has gotten a lot better than it has 10 years ago just because of the hitting. Like you're saying, there's a lot of girls that could, throw no hitters and just shut a team down. But now the margins for error are much thinner. You have to hit your spots. If not, like you said, you leave a pitch, any of those pitches over the plate against Oklahoma, it was gone. I mean, and that's 11 runs, and that's a good Florida State team.
No, and think about this. If you're playing infield, that's a short diamond. This isn't a 90-foot base path here. That ball's coming at you in a hurry.
They get on you on top of you pretty fast.
And those girls are quick. I mean, you got to turn it quickly. I mean, if you ever see a double play on these diamonds, it's amazing to me that they can turn it that fast.
And then Let's talk real quick about the men.
Yeah.
They won their game, I think it was Tuesday, against Georgia Tech. They're playing today, I think, like either 10 or 11 o'clock our time. They're playing Virginia.
Correct.
Then they go down to 4 games tomorrow, depending on if they win or not. And then the championship's on Sunday. The thing that's really interesting about Florida State, they've got men I'm talking about now. They got 14 losses on the season, but 12 of them were in conference. So that's why they're number 5 in the ACC. So, really good.
Plus, I think Miami ousted Clemson yesterday, didn't they? Or was that?
I believe so. It's unclear to me who's ousted who because we're still in the pool play, but I think that's likely the scenario. The pool play is interesting.
Right, I don't like that.
And, well, I think you almost have to, or just go full single elimination.
Right.
But you almost have to with the number they're dealing with in the ACC. But, yeah, it makes it pretty hard to figure out exactly what's happening. And you get a situation like this, Florida State's going to be like 3 days between games. In a tournament, that's weird.
That's crazy.
Right.
I don't know. But
so
very good.
We'll see how their season ends up. It's definitely was better than last year, but we'll see.
Yep, absolutely
Got
right.
Virginia today.
Well, let's talk about some more of our great sponsors. Want to thank Newbies again for sponsoring the FSU Update. Paparazzi Gourmet Deli, 3 restaurants in one, and now they've got the bar in there. Big John and the crew do a wonderful job. The best pizza you're going to find anywhere down here. The bakery, the deli. Absolutely love Paparazzi Gourmet Deli. South Oak Title and Closing. Look, you don't want any hassle when it comes to closing your real estate deals. That's why all of the area top realtors demand Chuck Tucker and South Oak Title and Closing. And we've got the man here himself. You want to look better, you want to feel better, you want to get bigger, stronger, faster. You need to get out to Max Fit Sports Nutrition. Jason, tell us a little bit about what you got going on there.
Well, we got our new Max Fit meals, which is very exciting for us. We're making healthy meals. We have 2 drop-off locations right now. We have Fitness Junkie and Anytime Fitness, so you can go in there if you're on the run. Awesome. If you don't want to, get fast food. These are fresh-made meals. They're healthy options. They have, brown rice, chicken, asparagus, stuff like that will, maintain a healthy meal. So we also do custom meal plans now, which is very exciting for us. We just started doing this. So if you're struggling to know what to eat, when to eat it, we construct the meal plan for you. Then we send that to Max Fit Meals. They prepare the meals for you, and we deliver those to your house. So that's a really good option to be able to, for somebody that doesn't know how to prepare meals, because when we put someone on a meal plan, the hardest thing for them to do is prepare the meals for the week. And that's something that Max Fit Meals can take out of the equation. So you can give us a shout. We have an email at maxfitmealsanytime@gmail.com if you're interested in the custom meal plans. But if you want to pick up a healthy meal, stop in the Fitness Junkie. It's $13.99 for the chicken, $14.99 for the fish. So it's not something that's going to break the bank.
I gotta say, that's pretty competitive.
Pick it up, take it to the house, put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and you got a healthy dinner for you. So check those out. And you can go like our Facebook page. It's called Max Fit Meals Anytime. And we're just trying to grow this so we can get some healthy meals out to people that need them.
Outstanding indeed. When we come back, we're going to talk to Jeff Spiegel, Birmingham ABC 3340, about what's going on with Alabama. May talk a little Auburn. Going to talk about a lot with Jeff. We might even get in this NCAA thing. I'm curious what Jeff thinks about that.
I would too.
That's coming up next. Coach James Hale Show, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
Good morning. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For this afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 83 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a light breeze and warm near 76. Partly sunny and 84 tomorrow. 84 and mostly sunshine with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and a temperature the same at 84. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231 in Youngstown.
PLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn Haven. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
In the jewelry business, there is no substitute for experience. David Adamson has over 46 years of experience, 32 of those in Lynn Haven. Designing and creating fine jewelry is more than a job for David, it's a joy. If you're looking for a spectacular jewelry design that says you, or perhaps you need your jewelry repaired, look no further than David Adamson Designer Jewelry. All work is done in-house and always to your complete satisfaction. Stop in today at David Adamson Designer Jewelry, 830 Ohio Avenue in Lynn Haven. They're on Facebook and at tcjeweler.com.
It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Bonafide and qualified.
Live and local from the J. Michael Studio.
Certified.
From the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Roll Tide. Roll. The reason Jim and Jason come into the show every week. Alabama update.
Live for it, baby.
Can't wait for it. Love it.
That's all we hear.
You sound so sincere. Alabama update brought to you by somebody we can be sincere about, and that is Steverson Air Conditioning. It's getting to be that time, fellas. We need to make sure that AC unit is working and in order because it's starting to get a little warm. No sense in being miserable in the Florida heat. But the fine folks at Steverson Air Conditioning, they'll come out, make sure your unit is working. If it's time, to replace it, they will come in and get you a brand new one. It's one of the few things in life you can actually get that will pay for itself.
Oh, for sure. And that happened for me.
That's
it was
right.
like 450, 470. I was like, hey, what was going on? I mean, it was the middle of summer. It was just running all the time. They come out, checked it, ended up putting a new unit in the back, and my bill's half of what it was. Yeah. So I probably made money, obviously, over the last year. So they do a phenomenal job. But they'll come out if you have a problem that day and try to help you and fix it. So that's why you shop local.
Absolutely. Steverson Air Conditioning, they are number one. And speaking of number one, we are talking to number one here, Jeff Spiegel, ABC Birmingham 3340, joining us as he does on Friday. Jeff, how are we doing today?
Brian, great. It's good to be number one in someone's book.
Hey, there you go. I've been called number one a lot, but they use the wrong finger.
Yeah. All right, now, Jeff, have you avoided James Hale at the baseball tournament?
Yeah, we got to hear that.
Is he trying to hunt you down and get you access to food and drink and such?
You know what? I have not seen Coach yet.
Oh.
I know. Look, I know Tuesday was a tough day for him. He planned on coming and watching Alabama play a lot at the Hoover Met, and South Carolina, and those guys had other plans.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if you wanted to run into him, hot dog stand or ice cream stand would be the place to be. But no,
absolutely.
I mean, let's talk about that. Alabama. So we're coming into the tournament. It seemed like there were 7 pure locks into the NCAA field. And the next 4, they felt pretty good about, but wouldn't hurt them to win a game. And all of them except Florida did. The interesting thing, do you think maybe Alabama came in missing a little bit of an edge because they thought we've kind of got this locked up? Or do you think they just ran into a South Carolina team that was really determined to go play?
Well, I think they felt pretty good about their resume. Right. I think they felt pretty good that they would get in. I think going into the Auburn series, the last regular season series, I think they thought there was an outside shot at hosting a regional. If they could,
right.
And we laid this out a week ago, if they could sweep Auburn, which, anytime you go on the road, anytime you go on the road, it's a big ask to ask a team to sweep the other team. And then they needed to win a couple of games, in the SEC tournament. Well, they failed to do either. Mm-hmm. They lost 2 of 3 at Auburn, and then they, one and done at the SEC tournament. Now, I think their resume is still good enough, to get into the NCAA tournament. You can't tell me they're not one of the best 64 teams.
That's right.
In college baseball. So they'll get in. But, no, I think it was the fact that, in this SEC tournament, it's all about who's got more to prove. Who's more motivated, who comes in. And South Carolina had lost 6 games in a row. And so, they had something to prove, and man, have they proved it. Yeah. I mean, Cole Messina has just been a one-man wrecking crew. Yeah. LSU sidetracked him yesterday, but, South Carolina just wanted it more, and they proved it. But I think Alabama's, good to go for the tournament.
Jeff, what is Alabama's overall record?
I think it's 33-22. I think is the overall record. But you look, and they've won. They've won a lot of big series, and the quality of wins, is good. And when the committee, looks at that, don't compare them to the rest of the teams in the SEC. Compare them to the rest of the teams on the bubble,
right?
Because the SEC is just it's a dog-eat-dog conference. I mean, people are just beating each other up. And this is going to come to light when all these teams go to the NCAA tournament, and all of them, win games in the tournament. I'm not saying we're going to have an 8-team College World Series field, full of SEC teams. That's impossible. They're not going to map it out that way.
Right.
But the SEC is going to show its strength when it comes to the NCAA tournament, for sure.
Do you think Florida's safe? RPI in the top 30, but barely above 500, didn't win a game in Hoover. Do you think they're safe today?
I think Florida's safe. Okay. Yeah, I do. I think, again, it's the fact that the league is so strong.
Right.
I mean, it's the number 1 baseball league in America.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think they're good too. Certainly, we always have surprises when it comes to Selection Monday, but I would think the Gators are in.
They got the number 1 strength of schedule too in the country.
Yeah,
not just
they're
SEC.
Yeah, and certainly talented. It's interesting, Jeff. The projections are that 11 SEC schools are going to make the field. Now that obviously there's some havoc that could be wreaked, but most likely scenario is that they do that. Now the SEC's never gotten more than 10. The only schools looking left out are Ole Miss, Auburn, and Missouri. But do you think the committee considers that? I mean, look, we know they shouldn't.
Right.
But do you think they consider that and think, are we going to get any blowback if we get all 11 teams in, or are they rightfully looking at it like all of these teams' resume is worthy of making it?
Well, I think it's very similar to when we're in the NCAA basketball tournament, and, we look at all the bids that, the Big Ten gets, the Big 12 gets, and those power basketball, conferences, and I think the same is going to be. I mean, look, if you're the SEC, the committee should give the SEC the respect it deserves. Now, the only thing that could keep the Southeastern Conference from getting all those bids is, of course, if you have a bid stealer.
That's right.
Come out of some of these conference tournaments and still a bid away from one of these SEC teams. But I definitely see 11 teams going and 11 teams, representing themselves pretty well.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's go over to a different diamond here. The softball team will get into action today. And, boy, the rivalry makers, I don't think they set it up, but it worked out. You got Texas A&M at Texas. You got FSU and Oklahoma. It's quite the softball rivalry. But Alabama going to Knoxville, it just hits different there. What do we expect here? Obviously, SEC loaded in softball as well. But what do you think of the post-Montana Fouts era with Alabama heading to Tennessee?
Well, it's a tall mountain to climb for Alabama because a month ago they hosted Tennessee, and Tennessee beat them 2 out of 3 games.
Right.
Alabama salvaged a game in the series, winning 1-0 in the final day. And the other two games, I think Tennessee beat them like 6-0 and 5-0.
Yeah.
And there was a stretch there where Alabama had trouble scoring runs. I mean, they could get people on base, but they couldn't get the big hits. And the Caps seemed to come off in the Tuscaloosa Regional. Now, you can argue all day long that they got a great draw. I mean, Southeastern Louisiana, South Carolina upstate, Clemson. You look at that and you go, yeah, well, Alabama should win that regional, right? But But the fact is, they played well and won the regional. That's the big thing. So they go to Knoxville with a lot of confidence, but you also play a Tennessee team that's very confident because they won their regional and they shut all those teams out. And so there aren't many teams. You could argue there's no team in America playing better softball right now than the Tennessee Lady Vols. So this is going to be a tough hill for the Tide to climb for sure.
All right, to make sure that I make Coach Hale happy here in his absence, let's pivot over to football here. Alabama picked up a commitment, for what that word even means anymore, from corner Dorian Barney, I believe it is, class of 26. I think he's a number 44 ranked prospect overall, number 4 corner, getting him out of Georgia. My question is more of an overall macro sense. So you've got obviously new coaching staff, but they also kind of brought in a completely new recruiting staff over what had been an extremely successful, by anyone's measure, recruiting group at the University of Alabama over the last decade and a half. So what are you hearing kind of up there on like the success or how it's kind of playing out when it comes to recruiting under Coach DeBoer's staff?
Well, one of the first people you saw get off the plane when Alabama, when Kalen DeBoer landed in Tuscaloosa, you had Kalen, right? You had his wife Nicole, right?
Yeah.
You had his daughters Alexis and Avery, right? Come off the plane. Then you had Greg Byrne coming off the plane. You had the pilot coming off the plane, which is very important that he was on the plane. And then you had a huge fella come off the plane, and his name is Courtney Morgan. Well, he's the general manager. He's been the general manager. That's a recently newly derived term in college football because that's a very important position now. He's been the GM of Washington for the past couple of years, and he moved over and took over that role at Alabama. He's a very important part of this recruiting puzzle. He's basically putting together the roster, that Kalen DeBoer is going to have to play with this fall. He's a key player. And so when you see all these, recruits that they're getting and everything, he's had a big role in that.
Yeah.
And I think they've done very well. They had needs. They had corner needs. They had offensive line needs. And I think they've taken care of those. And now, we're getting close to where it's go time now, and now we'll see what this roster can do. On paper, and it's a contender for the college football playoff. Anything less than that will be a major disappointment in terms of Alabama fans.
Sure. Jeff, is there any chance you can stay with us through the break, or do you need to go?
Yeah, no doubt, I'm good.
I definitely want to ask you a question about Auburn, and then I definitely have to get your opinion on what we're going to get into for the last half hour of the show, which is everything going on with the NCAA. So yeah, if you can hang with us, that would be wonderful. We appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, let's talk real quick. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, the best Mexican restaurant you're going to find anywhere on Panama City Beach, right there on Thomas Drive, across from the Navy base. Get out there. Have a great time. We're still trying to get Jim signed to that contract. Going to do his Elvis show out there. But wonderful drink specials, food. You will absolutely love it. Corum's, Charlie Corum's place up 231 Bayou George, and the new restaurant there on 15th Street. Great Southern home cooking. They've got specials every single day. Absolutely wonderful. Get out there and have a wonderful time. And Jason said it right. Don't be a Gilligan. If you're out on the water this weekend, what if something goes wrong? Who we calling?
You're going to call C2. Don't be silly, and you got family coming down. Everything's all helter skelter. You may remember to put all of the beer in the cooler, but you might forget to check the oil.
Or the gas.
not that we would ever do that, right, Jason?
Yeah.
No,
but anything can happen. That's my point. Anything can happen, and so you got to have CETO. They have many plans out there for year-long protection. They'll come out and rescue you and bring you back safely within an hour. So go to CETO.com and check out their app. They got a fantastic app in case you do get lost out there or you break down, or call Brandon at 850-234-2323, CETO.com.
Thanks again to Steverson Air Conditioning. We get back more with Jeff Spiegel, Birmingham 3340. You're listening to the Coach James Hale Show on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is celebrating 7 years of broadcasting history by giving you a chance to win the Atlanta Braves 7-year send-off.
That is gone!
Starting Monday, June 3rd. Listen weekdays at 7:40, 12:40, and 5:40 to qualify for the grand prize. 2 amazing tickets in the Xfinity Club to see the Atlanta Braves Saturday, September 7th versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Plus hotel and spending cash from ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For this afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 83 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a light breeze and warm near 76. Partly sunny and 84 tomorrow. 84 and mostly sunshine with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and a temperature the same at 84. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey, Howard, what you doing up there?
Listen to this story about Swampy Jack and the Swamp Ape. You know, the Florida Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah, like Abominable Snowman at the Old Miracle Strip Amusement Park.
No, Clyde, like the Florida Bigfoot. They call it a Swamp Ape.
Right. Swampy Jack's One Go Adventure in PCB has a ride called the Swamp Ape. Like the Abominable Snowman, only turbocharged.
No, I'm listening to a story on YouTube about Swampy Jack and the Swamp Ape.
Right, Swampy Jack. That's his story and the reason he built his Swamp Ape ride.
Man, I love that Abominable Snowman. What was the song I used to ask for?
I remember you like Kickstart My Heart.
Yeah, that's it. What say we go to Swampy Jack's in Panama City and give it a whirl?
I hear he's got a mostly tame swamp ape there.
Oh, come on. You can't catch him, much less tame him. Why, they're the hide-and-seek world champion.
Swampy Jack's One Go Adventure, 284 Powell Adams Road, Panama City Beach.
It's the Coach James Hale Show. Live and local from the J. Michael Studio.
A lot more excitement is yet to come.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's circling.
That's why you wanted to hold him over.
There we go. War Eagle. Hey. Yeah. I've got something to Guerra. I think that's right. Yeah. That was for Martha down there in Mexico.
That's right, Mexico.
But Auburn Update brought to you by Beef O'Brady's in Lynn Haven. Pat Burno and the crew out there does a wonderful job. Also a great city commissioner out there in Lynn Haven as well. But great lunch specials, TVs everywhere. Enjoy your time at Beef O'Brady's Lynn Haven. We're joined again by Jeff Spiegel, Birmingham ABC 3340. And Jeff, unfortunately, we pivot over to Auburn, and it's the story that's kind of running everything right now as it relates to Auburn athletics is the ongoing story of Brian Batty, who was critically injured, and of course his brother was killed in a shooting down there, I believe in Sarasota area down there. What I understand they've made an arrest in there. Do you have any further developments on this case or anything coming out new about it?
Well, no news that's really good, at this point. Brian is, Hugh Freeze, mentioned this earlier in the week that, he's still on a ventilator. Mm-hmm. And they're, according to the Tampa Bay Times, they did confirm that, according to an affidavit, that he was shot in the head.
Yeah.
And that,
in the head?
So there's So there's a long way. There's a long way to go, for Brian. But certainly our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family.
Yeah. Well, I was glad to hear that they had made an arrest and have charged an individual. Now, I saw some news this morning that there may have been gunfire on both sides of things. They do have some security footage apparently from the area, but. certainly there has been a charge of murder, attempted murder, and I believe felon in possession of a firearm.
Right.
I think were the charges.
I don't think anybody was innocent in this situation.
I think that's probably
and
right.
I think it was just an ugly situation. This is the worst nightmare as a parent, as a football coach.
Mm-hmm.
You're off, you're going back home. Just stay, do the right things. Just stay safe. Don't go out and do anything stupid. And this is like the worst thing you could possibly think of. So
yeah, that's exactly right. Well, Jeff, I'd be remiss. We talk all this college sports with you all the time. I mean, we've got some landmark stuff going on, and unfortunately, sports is playing out more in the courtroom than on the ball fields lately. But look, this is going to be the most open-ended question of all time. What are your general thoughts on the settlement that it appears has now been agreed to by all parties?
Yeah, of course the judge has to sign off on it. That's the most important player in this thing. But look, we've talked about this before. If we've ever pretended that there's amateurism, in college athletics, well, we can stop now.
Right.
I mean, those days are over, and this settlement is it's going to reshape college athletics. You're talking about $2.7 billion that's going to be paid to some 10,000 Division I athletes, over the course of 10 years. But the most important aspect of this is that we're going to get to a revenue sharing model, in the Power 5 conferences, where each school is going to be spending, $20 million, to pay these athletes. And it's just it's one of those things that it was going to happen. It probably should have happened 5-10 years ago, but it's something that's just going to change college athletics as we see it, and schools are going to be able to directly pay players now, which is something my dear old daddy, if he was still alive, he'd be shaking his head over this, but. But this is where we're going, and this is where it's. We could see it going for a long time.
Yeah.
Jeff, let us be clear for the people out there that maybe don't follow it like we do. This is for all sports in all genders, men and women. Is that correct? So everybody's going to be getting a check?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. How much of a check are people going to be getting? And how is that going to be determined? Is it going to be determined by, is the quarterback going to get more money than the offensive line? We don't know that yet. There's a lot of legalese, attached to this, and a lot of things that have to be determined down the road. Certainly, Title IX also comes into play. Another important thing about this is that part of this agreement is that these 3 federal antitrust cases they're dropped, and no more antitrust litigation can be brought against the NCAA. That's another part of this settlement too. So the NCAA is going to be, out of the courtroom, and then they're going to be, there's going to be some legislation, enacted that's kind of make things, a little more of a level playing field all across the board. It doesn't mean the end of these NIL collectives, but it just means that, there's going to be more clarity when it comes to college athletics because, everybody's going to get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
How much are people going to get paid? We don't know yet. But everybody's going to get a check.
The interesting thing, and I think that's exactly why you settle it, is to remove future litigation. I've seen stories on both ends that there is one case that's still left out there that wasn't one of the 3, the Fontenot case, I believe it is. I believe it's in Colorado, that the judge out there is trying to keep separate, and so that's going to be an issue for the NCAA. But we were laughing before the show talking about this. There's such an element of ready, fire, aim in all of this stuff that there's so many questions involved. But I have one that I don't know if you know the answer to or not, but we're kind of racking our brains as to why. So based on the House case, which is the primary, what they agreed to was that class action could be filed, and it was athletes back to the start of the 2016 season. Do you know why it only goes back to 2016. Have you seen anything on that?
Coach Hale wants to know.
Yeah, Coach Hale wants to know. So someone asked me. And I want to know because I played on Jacksonville State's intramural
there we
team.
go.
See?
Like
money for Jeff.
79 to 81.
Jim Bob Akron.
So. No, I don't know why 2016 was penciled in as that. But another thing too, it's not just former athletes; it's current athletes. Are under this too. So that's a question that I can't answer. But it's and look, I read over the story like 4 or 5 times before I went on TV last night. And I said, how can I tell this story in like 30 seconds?
Exactly.
How do you do that? And my head exploded like several times in the course of reading this story. But, my son's an attorney. He understands this a lot more than I do. But it's definitely a game changer. And, is it going to change the product that we see on the field? Is it going to enhance the product that we see on the field? Not really sure, but definitely it definitely changes the game, no doubt about it.
Can you explain? I've asked this a million times this morning. Why does the NCAA still exist? It seems like they're toothless. It seems like over
there's a quick question
15
for you.
years that they've done absolutely nothing to help the sport. Yet it seems like the Power Five still wants to deal with them for some reason. I don't understand that at all.
Well, I think it's because there's got to be a governing body.
Right.
Now, if you can't have a commissioner and no one wants to step up and be the commissioner, Nick Saban's been offered the commissioner of college football job like 50 times, and he's turned it down every single time. But, there's got to be a governing body. You got to have rules. And to me, this case, to me, even it strengthens the NCAA.
That's what I was surprised about.
To a large degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and look, and we all know, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
But it's a thing. That's all I know.
Please, Nick.
That's
Barry Alvarez, anybody.
That is the best way to leave it. It's a thing because that's what it is right now. Jeff, as always, we love having you on. Birmingham 3340. Make sure you check out all of Jeff Spiegel's stuff there, and we will talk to you again next Friday.
Y'all have a great holiday weekend. See you later.
Thanks, man.
And you
have
as well, Jeff. Thank you very much. Wow, that was fantastic. I feel bad anytime we ask someone like Jeff. It's like, all right, we're going to ask you the biggest question in the world. All right, go.
Right.
But I think he did wonderful. It was great insight on a lot of that stuff. So, but we're going to continue to talk about that going forward for sure. Again, want to thank all of our sponsors here on the show, Jay Michaels and Dr. Mitchell, Adamson Jewelry, Rudy's, Dr. Ward, Turf Pro, Paparazzi, South Oak Title and Closing, El Rodeo, Tequila, Coram, Cito, Beef O'Brady's, Newbie, Steverson. We got so many great sponsors. And Jason, again, talk to us a little bit about, we know about athletes going out there, want to get bigger, stronger, faster, but we just want to, maybe drop some weight, eat healthier.
Yeah, what about us old fat people?
Exactly. How do we do that with Max Fit Sports Nutrition?
So our meal plans are not specified just for athletes.
That's right.
If you want to lose, an extra 10 pounds, say you're trying to get ready for beach season, or maybe you got a reunion coming up, you want to look a little bit better, lose a little bit extra body fat, or maybe you got some ailments that you're not just feeling right. So we have certified sports nutrition on staff. What we do is we bring you in, we put you on the InBody, we do your initial scan, then we construct your meal plan based off that. But after that, we just don't, send you on your way. We don't hand you a diet and be like, oh, good luck with that. We do weekly check-ins with our InBody. We track your skeletal muscle. We track your body fat. So this is done scientifically, and we take the guesswork out for the people. And now with Max Fit Meals, we can actually go and have you sent to where you can actually have your meals made and delivered to your house. So we tell you how to eat, what to eat. We give you supplements that kind of enhance that, and now we can make the meals for you and deliver them to you. So we take all the guesswork out of it. But you can come into any of the Max Fits on 23rd Street in the Del Coronado Village, or you can come into Pier Park North. We can do your scan, and we have certified nutritionists at both locations.
Outstanding. Well, when we get back, you're going to watch. The whole sporting world is waiting for the four of us to unpack this NCAA case.
What a mess.
We're going to make it worse. That's coming up next. Coach James Hale Show, ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Braves versus the Pirates. First pitch tonight at 5:40. And listen closely for a special keyword. It's your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets to see the Braves play the Nationals Memorial Day. When you hear the keyword, text 850-215-6290 for your chance to experience the Braves at Truist Park.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
That boot store reminds you to thank a veteran this Memorial Day. Without the many sacrifices of our military, we could not enjoy the freedoms we realize today. And remember, that boot store carries a wide selection of name brand Western wear and work clothing like Carhartt work clothes that will make the perfect gift for that veteran at an affordable price. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5. Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30. Next to Bill Burkia, 15th Street, Panama City. That boot store where God is good all the time.
Hey there, business owners. Do you feel lost in a sea of numbers, struggling to navigate your day-to-day accounting? At Lighthouse CPAs, they specialize in guiding businesses to make more money and keep more of what you make. From bookkeeping to tax planning, they've got you covered. Plus, with their user-friendly software, managing your finances has never been easier. Spend less time on paperwork and more time growing your business. Call Lighthouse CPAs 850-785-5254.
He has a really low passenger rating on Uber. He punched a magician and started a petition to remove the penny from circulation.
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michael studio.
Is he sane? I have no idea.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Sit here and listen to Chicago. Back at you here on the Coach James Hale Show on a Friday, Memorial Day weekend. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, enjoy your time, but not too much. Otherwise, you're going to have to call CETO multiple times. And
right.
I am not coming to get anybody from the county jail. Jim.
You don't have bail
Jason. John.
Oh, who, me?
But anyway, joined again, Jim Barrant, Jason Kovaleski, Big Bad John. All right. Wow.
You're going to have to explain this whole thing from start to finish just to get me. I'm not wrapping my head around what the ultimate goal is of all of this.
I don't know that they know what the ultimate goal
is. Let me do what I can here. So essentially what's going on is there's a federal case, House versus NCAA or whatever it was, and it was a class action suit, was granted class action status. There are two others that are going to be subsumed into this agreement. So essentially it relates to the denial of athletes being able to cash in on their name, image, and likeness rights. Okay, fair enough. We can at least get behind that concept with where we are now.
So far, so good.
Okay. What is going on right now is that the NCAA and now all of the Power 5 conferences have agreed in principle to a settlement plan. And I'm going to get into why they've done this, because a lot of people are like, why in the world would you want to settle if you have a slam dunk case? Well, that's very easy to get into. So the settlement appears to be, if it has to be confirmed by a judge, as Jeff said, roughly $2.77 billion with a B, billion.
Where does that come from?
Well, I'm getting that. Will be paid out in damages over the last 10 years to past and current athletes. Again, we don't know why it stops at 2016, but whatever. And then there is an additional part of this that would be that it would allow each school to revenue share with its athletes up to $20 million per year. Now, that is elective, not mandatory, but if you're going to be competitive, everyone's going to do it.
Nobody's going to opt out of that.
Right. Okay.
Except maybe Dabo.
Yeah. Here we go. The $2.77 million, and I can't remember which is which. Billion, excuse me. 1.6 billion of it is coming from one entity, 1.1 is coming from the other. I can't remember which is which, so I apologize for that. One of the entities is the NCAA itself.
So they were making a lot of money off
The other is going to be withheld in TV rights deals from the universities. Now, not the ones they've done for themselves, but as it relates to like NCAA tournament payouts and things like that. So the schools are actually on the hook here. This explains why that this settlement is being done, because essentially, why would a school want to say we're going to sign on board to having to pay out, 1.1 or 1.6 billion?
Right.
Because of the threat of what it could cost if it went to court. Because we all know the NCAA's record in court is worse than Vanderbilt's record in football. I mean, it's just not very good. So there was the possibility that both sides could end up on the hook for 17 to 20
So the amount of money could go up if they go to court and they fight it. Someone's liable to say, well, I don't think this is fair. Let's make it X amount of billion. Let's talk trillion.
They're plugging the hole. That's what they're trying to do here. So both entities have a vested financial interest in limiting future liability, and that's why they've agreed in principle to this settlement. So
imagine if they had to go back
the
even
first part.
further. I mean, you can open a can of worms going back even to the 80s, 90s. I mean, the fact that they have that much money to pay out just laying around just shows you how bad they've been screwing these players over for a long time. And we never really wanted them to pay, but they weren't even allowed to hold summer jobs and make money.
That was the part I always had a problem
with. At
with.
all. Like that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. We always thought that was dumb. So.
Now,
and that takes us to going back to what year that this all starts.
2016.
2016.
Eligible
I think
for this money.
There's got to be a time frame that it's past what you call it
statute of limitations.
Right, yeah.
It's something. It's got to be something
like
legal,
that.
That would make that the case. Whether it was when the case was initiated, whether there were certain, maybe that was the first time a state law was passed that allowed XYZ. I don't know, but. That's because it was certainly after the O'Bannon case, which was the very first, step in all of this process. I mean, that's been,
that will
I think, 20 years
come
ago.
out eventually, don't you think?
Yeah.
The reason why.
Look, in and of itself, I don't have an issue with the ability for athletes to make money, even if it's direct payment because it's their on-campus job. I always said I hated that people who are on school or at school on academic scholarship could always hold on-campus jobs, but football players couldn't.
Right.
That always bothered me. So I don't have an issue with that part of it. There are two things that are going to be difficult here as it relates. Number one, how is that money going to be divvied out? Is it just straight, exact same payment to, the 25th swimmer on the team, from 2016 versus Caleb Williams?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that right now. Right. But then how do you get into the scale? And then, of course, are we going to be complaining about what we already complain about, the equity between male and female? I mean, that's going to be an issue. The second one is the bigger question. Look, I coach swimming, Olympic sport. We don't make money for universities.
Right.
We don't. It just doesn't happen. In fact, football makes money almost everywhere. Basketball makes money most places. Baseball makes money in less than half.
Barely.
And nothing else really makes money. Very occasionally, you'll get a women's basketball like a Tennessee used to be or a UConn.
Or even Iowa.
Iowa now that can make money.
Yeah.
Extremely rare.
Right.
So all the other sports are going to be net losers for universities. Well, now, when we go into something like this, there are still Title IX implications in play, but athletic directors are going to have to be that much more discerning about their money because they are not getting some of their TV money. They are going to have to now budget $20 million. I know we think that's a drop in the bucket. $20 million is a significant amount of money, even at Ohio State and Alabama.
Oh, for sure.
They've got to budget this. Why are they going to keep funding these underperforming and net negative Olympic sports? That is my worry in this for selfish reasons.
Right.
And how will some colleges, and some of them will, they're going to try to find a way to recoup some of that money. We gave this player a place to live, so let's add that up. We fed him, let's add that up. And we're going to deduct that from what we owe these players and try to get some of that money back.
Yeah.
I just
What they're going to do is be like, okay, gymnastics does not make any money. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Swimming doesn't make any money. Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And then there's your $20 million right there.
Yeah. And certainly on the male side.
For sure.
Because you do have to balance with Title IX. Now, Jim, we were talking earlier, you played at the University of Akron, not what we would consider the strongest financial school in the country in terms of their athletic budget. But let's talk about this. We were talking Olympic sports, but if you can now pony up $20 million a year, okay, we know the big boys are going to be able to do that. But there are some random school, like we used to talk about Oklahoma State. Yeah, they're in Power 5, but they used to have T-Bone Pickens.
Right.
Or T-Boone. I call him T-Bone for some reason. But
that's that Coach Hale slip there.
There you go. Yeah, the Stark in Tula. And there we go.
Tula.
We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, so if Akron's going to be competitive, coming up with $20 million at the University of Akron is it just going to be the gap widening that much further?
I think for sure. When I saw that, who's the Power 5? You're talking about SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12. Okay, well, that certainly leaves out Akron in the Mid-American Conference. It leaves out James Hale's, the Harvard of the Southern Miss Eagles in the Sun Belt. Mm-hmm. How in the world? I know the answer. They won't.
No.
How will they ever be able to compete for anything? And I've never been a conspiracy theory person. I've never been that way. But there are times with stuff that goes on with a lot of things. Like, what's the real end game here? Are the big boys just trying to eliminate all their competition? We said this before, because I taught history. Do we want to go back to the 1890s and Standard Oil controls 98% of the market?
Right.
Is that really because this is going to eliminate a lot of competition. You'll never see those bottom feeder conferences compete with anything. How can they?
There's
no way.
This is the equivalent of the FHSAA not allowing Bozeman and Liberty County and Holmes County and these 1As and 2As to have any opportunity. It's not them eliminating them, but it's forcing them into a situation that makes it nearly impossible for them to compete. That would be the correlation to schools like Akron and Southern and places like that.
I just don't see it here. To me, there's an end game here involved in all this. It reminds me of so many things where this NCAA solution is easier on them,
right?
Because they don't have to enforce anything,
and they can get out of a major lawsuit that's more than $2.7 billion. So they're like cutting their losses right now.
Yeah.
Like, 2.7,
they're covering their own tail.
Yeah,
let's get out of the court systems.
The PR spin is we're being forward thinking about paying athletes. What it is we're trying to limit the damage
for sure,
exactly.
And that's and all of them want to do that. And to be honest, that's what they should be doing.
Oh, for sure, that's 100% what they should be doing. I thought that, and the way I thought this is going, and it still might be going, is that football should be a completely different entity.
Yes.
Hire a commissioner, break away from the NCAA. NCAA governs the rest of the sports, and the rest of the sports don't make a ton of money, but the schools could still fund those through, raising money, donations, stuff like that. But football is a completely different animal with completely different TV rights. They make way more money than everybody else. They have way more power than everybody else. I just don't see how it's going to coexist where football is going to be treated as the same as these other sports under an NCAA umbrella where they're being governed by the same entity. I just don't see how that can exist. Yeah. I just don't see it. It may happen that way, but I just can't envision that, and that's where I'm struggling in my head thinking, how is this good for any other sport other than maybe football? And to be honest, if we're talking about football in today, how is this better for anybody other than the SEC and Big Ten football?
Yeah, well, that's a fair point. We're going to get into that some more. We do need to take a break here on the Coach James Hale Show. Again, thanks to all of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors. Again, just a reminder, if you're out on the water, make sure you have sea tow. The last thing you want over Memorial Day weekend is to be stuck out on the water.
Last thing you want is to be 12 p.m. and you're out 20 miles out in the Gulf with your car. You have no electricity. It's dark, and there's boats flying around you.
There's a story behind this somewhere.
Oh, man.
And we're
changes
going to squeeze it out.
I'll get into it one day, but I still have a little PTSD from it. I'm still recovering.
The wreck of the Edmund
Speaking of
Fitzgerald
statute of limitations, maybe that's not out. All right. We're going to talk some more about this because there's so many more twists and turns to this, but certainly the end of amateurism as I think we know it.
It's dead.
Oh, no question.
Yeah. So on that positive note, we're going to head to a break here. You are listening to the Coach James Hale Show. This is an appropriate song on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This Memorial Day, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida honors our local heroes. From Port St. Joe, Sergeant Clifford Sims, United States Army, made the ultimate sacrifice. While in heavy combat in Vietnam, company leader Sergeant Sims threw himself on top of an enemy explosive device in order to save the soldiers of Company D. Thank you for your service and great sacrifice. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For this afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 83 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a light breeze and warm near 76. Partly sunny and 84 tomorrow. 84 and mostly sunshine with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and a temperature the same at 84. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
He's a beacon of light to many and an inspiration to all.
These men need inspiration.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels studio.
They're motivated by Vicodin and road skank.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
That's evil. Well played, sir.
Talk about your appropriate.
Yeah, very appropriate. You can own me a ball team.
Oh, my goodness. Brian Haddad sitting in for Coach Hale again. Coach will be back on Tuesday. We will be off on Monday, celebrating the Memorial Day holiday. But, again, just a reminder. I mean, obviously, by the way, I want to say happy birthday to my father, Fred Haddad.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Yeah, it's 78 today.
All right.
Good job.
So, and retired general, so that's what made me think about it. So, yeah, exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
But no, I'm actually going to go see him tonight. But just a reminder, think of, have a great time this weekend, but remember those who died for our freedoms and those who served and continue to serve so that we can be, we may not be as free as we all want to be, but certainly the freest land out there.
Have a lot of fun celebrating the people that sacrificed for us.
That's exactly right. Well, let's get back into this. So again, we've got the settlement. Yes, sir.
Let me throw this out there. We talked about this before you got here, Jason.
Okay.
The five most or highest paid college athletes.
This was interesting.
I'm just going to give you the top one.
What's on NIL?
It's not who you would expect. The highest paid college athlete this past year was Shedeur Sanders of Colorado. Yeah. All right, he's in $4.7 million. Now, here's my question. All right? So, going forward in this crazy new world that we live in, is he going to get paid by Colorado X amount of dollars on top of him getting $4.7 million? Number 5 was Arch Manning. He makes 2.8 at Texas. Is he going to get money on top of that?
It hadn't started the game.
Yeah, it hasn't hardly even played.
Yeah.
But that's not even my point. My point is, how do you equitably do this? I mean, I think NIL creates a lot of hard feelings as it is.
Right.
I mean, how could it not? So if you're at Colorado and you're some second string guy, hey, Shador, you're getting $4.7 million before we ever stroke you a check from the University of Colorado. So how is it right that he gets that money on top? That's my question. So I'm throwing it out there. So is that going to be a true thing?
And that's not even bringing up the fact of who comes from what means.
Right.
Like, I mean, we're not talking about.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter, but we're not talking about poor families starting the game here.
This. So here's the 5. Sanders at the top, Bronny James at number 2, and Arch Manning at 5. So 3 of the 5 come from extremely wealthy families, and I don't begrudge anyone their money.
Not at all.
Don't.
That's right.
But do you think Bronny James needs any money? LeBron's worth $1 bazillion.
Right.
What?
He's about to get drafted in the NBA, so somebody can maybe sign his dad in free agency.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the Cleveland Cavaliers hire LeBron as a coach and draft his son. Please, come on.
Please don't say
the basketball gods, please make this happen for me. Just 1 year. Because I want to see Cleveland fans implode and turn on him a little bit.
He's not coming back to Cleveland.
I hope he does. It would be a great storyline.
But my question is, I mean, how is that equitable? How is that?
Especially if we're going to give a quarterback more money than we would another, which, I mean, there's some merit to that, but exactly right. What are we going to do?
I'm understanding it. I think the colleges are going to pay a set amount to each player, but the NILs are going to come in and be like, hey, this is Shador Sanders, or this is Caleb Williams, or this is Bryce Young. We want you to do this commercial over here. We're going to pay you $4 million. I don't think you're going to get $4 million for a quarterback as a coach, and the offensive lineman get $50.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be everybody gets $100,000.
Okay,
but the stars are also going to, benefit from the collectives and go out on their NIL and make the money. And I think it's going to look more like what we thought it was going to look like than what it does now, which is
let's
a wild, wild
remind
west.
all of the listeners out there how many people.
But that's an opinion that's not based on facts or anything that's come out.
College football roster.
Right, 85
There's 85
at least.
on scholarship, and every team has over 100.
Right.
So even, we're talking about this, so even the second string walk-on who covers kicks at Ohio State, how much is he going to get compared to Marvin Harrison? Mm-hmm. Or at Alabama, you're covering a kick, you don't get the same as Tua got or gets, or Bryce Young? How are they going to do this? How are you going to equitably do this?
And now this gets slightly back to what we were talking about going into the last break. So let's look at it this way. You have a pool. You're limited to, let's say, $20 million, which I believe it is. It's elective, but I do think that's the cap they're going to allow you. So you're at a school that has, let's say you're at UCLA. They've got every sport basically there is, male and female. Then you go to a school that doesn't offer a lot of those sports. Ostensibly, every one of their athletes is in line to make more money.
Way more.
That now becomes a recruiting ploy in and of itself.
Never thought of that, but that's true.
I mean, there are so many. And look, I understand you have to start somewhere, but this, it's the worst way to govern. It's, we'll figure that out later.
Right.
No, let's sit and think about this. But those are going to be, we haven't even gotten into the fact that these athletes may be able to unionize.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole nother
and that's
level
coming because there's a couple schools. I believe one Ivy League school, Dartmouth
is in on it.
There was another Pac-12 school.
Northwestern tried it about 5-6 years.
Yeah, Northwestern
it didn't work out very well for them.
What's his name? Is it Schuler who's at UAB? He's all in support of it.
There was a smaller school that also tried to unionize as well. I can't remember the name. I think it was out west somewhere, but that's going to come too. I mean, when you're paying players from the school, they're going to unionize. They're going to have a players union. I mean, just like the NFL. We're going to the NFL model. I mean, it's inevitable at this point. It's very hard to see how the pay structure of how the school is going to pay athletes. Are they just going to pay the football team that $20 million and then they deal with the other school, players differently? How do you pay Shador Sanders $235,000 if you break down the $20 million on an 85-man roster, and then you pay a swimmer that nobody knows about $235,000?
That's right.
Is that going to happen? I just don't see the schools being able to do that. I mean, I don't think they can sustain it. So there's a lot to be worked out. I mean, this is just scratching the surface, but, like we've said over the last 2 years of all this playing out, it's just going to have to play out. It's going to play out in the courts. It's going to be long. It's going to be messy.
I can certainly see tuition's going up, huh?
Well, see, that's the thing. So you have to account for this $20 million. You have to account for the shortfall in the payouts.
Right.
That's only going to come from two places. Tuition going up, ticket prices going up. It's not... it's like they always say, the corporation never pays more.
No.
They pass it on.
No.
That's what's going to happen here. And I'll go you one better. Just because we have no time to talk about this, I'll leave you something for the weekend. If they are allowed to unionize, if they're allowed to become employees, which, okay, fair enough. You might believe that's a better way forward.
Right.
First of all, I would say, do they now have to pay for their tuition? But whatever, we'll skip that. If they're now employees, how does Title IX apply? It's no longer the same issue. And you want to talk about the death of women's sports as you know it?
Right.
Get rid of Title IX.
Yeah.
For all of its flaws, it has been unbelievably positive for women. It absolutely has.
In the last 3-4 years, women's sports has blown up.
Yes.
I mean, softball, basketball, the Caitlin Clark, Angela Reese, you got legitimate superstars of women's basketball now that people are tuning into the WNBA now to watch, to just follow their careers. So that would be really a death knell for college women's sports, to be honest. I mean, they just don't bring in the revenue that other sports do. And when you're trying to save money and you're paying players here and there, what you're going to do is you're going to cut things that don't make you money. And unfortunately, those are the Olympic sports and women's sports. So we got to be very careful in what we're doing here. I mean, it seems like money has taken over everything, and that's the only thing that we think about. But, these things were created for amateur sports and for people to participate on a college level. And that's just, we're getting so far away from that. I'm fearful that we're never going to see the same product again.
Well, if nothing else, it gave us something to talk about on a college sports show for the rest of the summer. That's for sure. Well, guys, again, Jim, Jason, thanks for joining me. John, as always, enjoyed it.
Have a safe weekend, Brian.
Yeah, enjoy the weekend. Coach will be back on Tuesday.
Michigan
we'll
still
see
sucks.
you later.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hale Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders.